Massive Bears trade update. Trey Hendrickson is on the move. What does this mean for the Bears? What are the chances that this move happens? Welcome to Bears Digest, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Dylan Guinzy. Thank you for joining me once again today. If you are not subscribed already, please do so. It looks like 67.5% of you are not subscribed, so please do so to get these continued rumors and updates as they come out. Folks, Trey Hendrickson, massive news drop here today on middle of a Sunday, August 17th. Trey Hendrickson has had some interesting contract talks and negotiation issues with the Bengals, and now that is coming to an impasse. So just taking a look here, we have some developing news. Jordan Schultz released this, Ian Rappaport, and everybody else pretty much in the media has released that Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals are now actively looking for trade partners for the perennial Pro Bowler in Trey Hendrickson. This is a massive update. Before, it looked like the Bengals were not interested in moving him at all. Maybe it was heading towards a good direction in the contract talks. It does not look like that is the way it is going right now. Obviously, time will tell if he is going to play elsewhere, but this is looking more and more possible. Now, what does this mean for the Bears? I think at first glance, this would be a move that you go to if you're Ryan Poles, if you're Chicago, if you want to be a playoff contender this year. Now, everybody has their differing opinions on that and what that means. If this does happen, this takes you over that hump like Khalil Mack did in 2018 for the Bears. Nobody thought that the Chicago Bears had any chance in 2018. They had a brand new head coach, offensive head coach in Matt Nagy. They brought in Khalil Mack about 2 weeks before the season started in 2018. And look what happened. They went 12-4. They won the division, went to the playoffs, arguably should have won the Super Bowl if they didn't have the double doink against the Eagles. Now, this is eerily similar to that same exact situation that we had. There was question marks going into the season at the edge rush position. There's question marks at other spots and other positions. But of course, if you get a player like that and a player like that of that caliber and you have your head coach correct that year and everything goes as planned, you're a playoff contender. And this is a big missing piece for the Chicago Bears. And I think it would be wise of them to at least call and see what the, gauging interest is in the market and everything like that. So as we have some more reports coming out here right away, Jordan Schultz also kind of released some interested parties who have maybe contacted the Bengals about Trey Hendrickson. That would be the Panthers, Browns, and Colts are among the teams that have shown interest in trading for All-Pro Trey Hendrickson per multiple sources. An in-division and in-state trade is highly unlikely, and any deal would be tough regardless. Cincinnati is believed to want an impact player or two, plus a draft pick in return. Now, overall, let's get through these teams here. So the Panthers, Browns, and Colts. These make zero sense, in my opinion. These make no sense to me at all. Browns, absolutely. They are completely rebuilding. They're going to be a bad team this year. That's not, pooping on the Browns or anything like that, but they're just not going to be good. They're not set up for success this year. That makes no sense. Panthers, kind of in the same spot. I think they're going to be an average team at best, but that does make more sense to kind of get them over the hump, and their division is not good. So that kind of makes some sense there. They do have some capital and maybe a couple of young guys that they could give up for that. Colts also makes no sense. They don't have a starting quarterback yet. If you have two starting quarterbacks, you have none. So I don't think the Colts makes much sense either. Their defense is already, pretty good. I think, that would make their defense very good, but I don't think that would kind of push them over the hump in the AFC to be a playoff contender with that move, as I think it would the Bears. Now, looking there at the bottom, just the overall compensation of what this would look like, it would not be as much as what we saw with the Khalil Mack trade. It would look more like some older players that you have seen that are looking for a contract. So, an impact player or two, so maybe a couple of young guys, or at least one young guy, and then a draft pick in return. The draft pick is probably going to look like a second rounder or a third rounder, depending on those players that are included. If I'm the Bears, I am jumping on that. I am jumping on that opportunity. I don't care what the money looks like or anything like that. That's not what you worry about when you are vying for, playoffs and a Super Bowl, right? The Eagles, always in some sort of cap space where they have to maneuver. The Chiefs, always in some sort of cap space issue where they have to maneuver. none of those good teams are going into the offseason with a bunch of cap space and a bunch of stuff to spend, right? They're doing the necessary things to get their roster in a spot where they can go win a Super Bowl or at least have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Now, the Bears are not paying Caleb Williams yet. They do not have to in the future. So this is the time to do a move like this. So I think all of this news that's coming out here about this potential trade and finally that the Bengals are actually listening to offers, that's when it kind of starts to click, because that's when you're going to get teams calling in. You're going to get battles between compensation between teams, and that's ultimately when a trade does seem to happen. So if you guys aren't too familiar with Trey Hendrickson himself, we're going to pull up his stats from last year. He was the sack leader in the NFL last year. He played all 17 games, 17 and a half sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 19 TFLs, 33 solo tackles, 46 combined, 36 QB hits. And he is 30, just turned 31 this year. This is his 31 age season. So if you're looking at trade value in that way, it's not going to cost as much as what you would see from some other guys and some other premier, young edge rushers that are maybe going on their second contract and things like that. Trey Hendrickson is going on his third. Now, just getting a little bit more into detail on some history and some possibilities and things that we could see. A little history about Trey Hendrickson. He did play for the Saints. And you know that our defensive coordinator is Dennis Allen, who was also the defensive coordinator for the Saints for about 10 or 11 years. And he was in the room when they drafted Trey Hendrickson. And when he started to kind of come up on his rise and his career was getting off to a great start. So Dennis Allen, he's going to obviously have his voice in this. If he does like Trey Hendrickson a lot, if they have a good relationship, and if they've had a good pass together, which I don't see any reason they wouldn't. The Saints just didn't have the money to pay him, so he did leave and went to the Bengals. But I think Dennis Allen would put his hat into this if he's not comfortable with our other side, opposite of Montez Sweat. I think he could vie for bringing in Trey Hendrickson. I think Ryan Poles is going to call just to see what it's going to happen, and we'll be up to date on that. I don't think we've seen anything come out as of yet that he has reached out or anything like that. But I think this would be massive for the Bears, guys. I think it would be a huge move and a very important move to solidify your defense there. That would honestly make this defense. I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but I think it'd be a top 8 defense, right? There really would be no weak spots, barring any injuries and things like that, and the secondary health and all that stuff. But this would make the defense incredible. And, somebody that Dennis Allen has already worked with in the past, I think that'd be awesome. And a contract for Trey Hendrickson, I don't think it would be too long, probably 2 or 3 years. Probably he probably wants 3 to kind of finish that off. But if you're giving him 3 years, that's leading up right into when you would have to pay Caleb Williams. So then you can kind of get off of that contract at that time, have the money to do so, and you're all good. But this is the window where if Caleb does hit, if Ben does hit, and everybody kind of clicks and everything is going in the right direction, this is the player that you want in those playoff moments or to solidify games and close down games and kind of take over. This is the guy that could do it. So this is very important. I think they should give it a very serious, hard look. Please let me know in the comments what you guys think about this Trey Hendrickson move. And, do you guys want it? Do you not want it? What does this look like in your guys' eyes? I always like hearing from you guys and your opinions, but this could be massive. So we're going to keep, up to date on this, keep tabs on this, everything that comes out, all the news and rumors going forward. But this is a big breaking situation where the Bengals are actually listening to those offers, and there is a possibility that he is on the move. And I think the Bears should be in that short list for destinations. Now, preseason game tonight, starters play against the Bills. We're going to have that coverage as well. I just wanted to get this out here today for you guys, just to talk about Trey Hendrickson and what that would mean for this team. But very excited for tonight in that preseason game, and we'll be here for that tomorrow. So we'll see you guys. Thank you for joining today. As always, bear down.